Do you want to do a podcast? We make a darn good team. It always goes without a hitch. Let's head to Twitch and go start up the stream. Do you want to do a podcast? It's the Nerd Glasses Podcast. Let's start now. Hi everyone and welcome to the Nerd Glasses Podcast.
Come? Alright, I'll do my own bit for myself.
Oh wait, no silence.
We're doing it. Get off the road.
Hey Jen. First off, when there's a bad joke and you just respond to it with, listen, I'm going to need you to do that. What did Deckard Cain call his bed and breakfast? Stay a while in. Hello everyone and welcome to the Nerd Glasses Podcast. I'm Boater.
I'm Jen.
Jen is standing in for Dave today, and it's going to be, we're going to have a really good time. Thank you so much for joining me today for Nerd Glasses.
No problem. Happy to be here.
Thank you for not getting up and leaving after the joke. I'm always appreciative when anyone does that, whether it's Dave or any guests still sticking around, so thank you. So welcome everyone to the Nerd Glasses Podcast. Hello to Anti-Klaus Prime hanging out in chat. Let's get started right away. We do have a few topics that we want to talk about, some fun kind of different things than we might otherwise cover. I really like having guest hosts on because everyone has different interests and it's really cool to see what people are going to bring. So, but of course, we're going to start first with who was banned from Twitch. And that is going to be Darkside Phil. That is DarkSydePhil. Darkside Phil, who was banned this past week, I think on Saturday, for misspeaking. He went to say negative. He stuttered a little bit and then said negative, and caught an immediate Twitch ban because it sounded like a racial slur.
Yeah.
He got it reviewed, and Twitch was like, oops, my bad, here you go. But by that point, he was already planning on, like, taking his show on the road and going over to YouTube streaming.
Right.
Which, when Twitch was like, oh, JK, you're good. I mean, I know you were departnered for something else that happened in the past, but no, you're good, come on back. He was like, no, we're going to see how this YouTube stream goes.
Well, that's like very similarly, there was a streamer on Twitch that got banned, I think a year or two ago. And it was because he compared a Fortnite skin to a raccoon, but he's from Florida where they just called them coons.
Oh, yeah.
So, he got ban-hammered on Twitch for that, and everyone's like, what's wrong with you guys? Like, did you not review this at all? So.
Yeah. It is one of those things where it's like, understanding that, yes, that is a term that can be used in a derogatory manner, but also context is important, as we find so many times with these. Context is key.
Yeah. Not banned from Twitch, but still banned.
Yes, you got one.
Professional Valorant player Sinatra has been banned for 6 months by Riot Games for failing to fully cooperate with an ongoing investigation into allegations of sexual assault from his ex-girlfriend. Some of you might know him from the Overwatch League. He was named MVP in 2019. Overwatch League is offering refunds on his MVP skin.
Ooh.
In March, he was accused of sexual abuse by this girlfriend, and it was supported by recordings and screenshots of messages. And he wrote a Twitter statement about how he wants to, quote, be a better person, end quote.
I find it interesting that they haven't finished their review of the allegations. He hasn't been banned because of the result of the review. He has gotten this so far half-year ban just for not cooperating fully.
Yeah, that's the wild part. Is like, he didn't cooperate, and exactly, Demon Dragon. He got caught, so he's sorry. It is up with law enforcement, but it's nice to see Riot taking a stand before it gets to that point, because those can drag out for years.
Yeah.
Similarly,
Riot taking a stand on sexual abuse allegations? Tell me more.
Yeah, right. Similar to the situation with Quentin Flynn, who, if you don't know, he's the voice actor for Kael'thas in World of Warcraft, Axel
Okay.
in Kingdom Hearts, and dozens of other roles.
Yeah.
He had every single one of his voice lines in World of Warcraft re-recorded by a different voice actor, and he was active in World of Warcraft like 10 or 12 years ago. And then also in the current expansion. So this is like they recovered old stuff because he was accused of sexual assault by dozens of women. And
Yeah.
people are like, oh, but he was found innocent. No. Actually, he won a court case against a girl who ran like a Twitter stalking and harassment campaign. He basically won a cease and desist against her. He has not been found innocent in a court of law. And he was caught on film kissing minors who were his fans. He licked a fan's thigh that had like a tattoo on her leg of like the Kingdom Hearts key thing. Super gross. So good on Blizzard for taking a stand, even though like there's a million neckbeard losers that don't understand and don't agree.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's something that we'll mention later, but corporate taking some sort of stand on a social issue is welcome. Sometimes it's performative, other times it is in a very meaningful way. So
Yeah.
it's good to see, and the more that happens, the more that neckbeard demographic that you mentioned will find themselves in a minority and be louder for it, but still find themselves in the neckbeard minority.
Yeah, and I appreciate that Blizzard is taking this stance in particular because it is so unpopular, because Quentin Flynn's voice acting is so well liked, and because he's genuinely appreciated. He's probably one of the more recognizable voice actors within the game, within the community.
Yeah.
So for them to re-record everything in an ancient game, even with Burning Crusade Classic pre-patch coming out today and then launching on was it June 1st, it's still a big deal.
Yeah.
Because companies just tend not to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it'd be one thing if someone had like 3 lines, or it's like, oh, well, it's lines that weren't really that well liked anyway. People didn't, so it's, hey, this is a good excuse for us to do something that's probably for the better.
Yeah.
No, they were good lines. It was good,
Yeah,
well-loved performance.
This was in a raid boss, end tier. He was hugely popular. He was throughout the entire expansion. He was in the current expansion as well. And there's a new patch coming out where they had to re-record all the voice lines with a new person. So there's just a lot to it.
So that's people reaping what they've sown.
Yeah.
Next, what's coming out the next 7 days? There's the release schedule is a little on the light side, but we found a couple things to kind of chat about.
Yeah.
Do you want to take point on that one?
Sure. So, as I mentioned, I don't play classic World of Warcraft, and I never played World of Warcraft back in the day. I only got into it like 6 years or so ago. But classic WoW is a, recreation or a relaunch of the original World of Warcraft 15 years ago. The Burning Crusade is the second expansion for World of Warcraft. And that the pre-patch for that is launched today, so you can log in and you can play a new class for the Horde and a new class for the Alliance. And then in the first of the month, it's launching in its entirety. So that's new and exciting for World of Warcraft players. Outside of that, an actual new game that I'm kind of looking forward to is, I didn't even hear about it before now. It's called Biomutant.
Yeah.
It's got a really awesome art style. And it's got a very smooth nature of combat where it's very quick, like kung fu actions, but there's also like some slow-mo moments. What I thought was interesting was watching gameplay is the way that you see damage on enemies. In multiplayer games, I'm used to seeing like pop-up, damage numbers where it's like, I did 900 damage, I did 900 damage. Oh, a little bit bigger of a number, I crit, I did 1800 damage. You don't really see that in a lot of single-player games, usually in multiplayer games. However, what you're also seeing in the game is like comic book style single player word pop-ups. So after a good hit, you might see like bop or whack, that kind of thing. So it's very, in a way, cartoony, but it's not a cartoony art style. What kind of initially drew me in was the idea that you can upgrade your character's like mutantness. So it's kind of like Spore in the sense that like longer arms or heavier bodies have different effects and bonuses for your character. but it's not like Spore because Spore was a disappointment in many ways, and I feel like this is going to be much more impactful.
Yes, yeah. Um, it's interesting that you mentioned that kind of like it's sort of like an upgrade tree,
Yeah.
sort of. And just the flavor of that reminds me a little bit of Man-Eater, which comes out on the Nintendo Switch this Tuesday, but has been out on other platforms. Just as kind of, yeah, you're a shark that's gonna, wreak havoc, and, you get your upgrades of, the armor or your bigger teeth or whatever. And this will be interesting to cat. And it'll be, yeah, like Biomutant looks really cool, so I'm excited to try that out. Hopefully there will be like a demo or something that you can give a shot.
What's that, Anti-Klaus? You don't want Spore to have any other effects in the game. You don't want to waddle around with like random gloopy eyeballs on stalks and pick up
How many people are gonna
random.
make penis things?
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
There's the no eyeball butt monsters and everything else. Darn.
Anti-Class Prime mentions a new Elite Dangerous expansion coming out tomorrow, the Space Legs expansion, which I haven't played Elite Dangerous in like 3 years, and I remember people asking about it back then. So I'm gonna say I won't believe it until I see gameplay, and even then, not until I actually get back into the game in another, I don't know, year from now. But still exciting. I heard this is where I go to unlock my very own pair of nerdy glasses. Well, welcome to the Nerd Glasses podcast. Here's your honorary. Hold on. I'm going to start talking about the next thing coming out. I think there was some sort of book, and I'm going to give the audience some glasses. So, okay.
Some sort
Here
of
you go.
book, he says. Okay, so the some sort of book just released. Is it today? It might release tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure it released today. That would be Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft.
Yeah.
Um, it expands on the domains of dread. So, Boder and I are both very familiar with Barovia, which
Yes.
is we every Monday we play in a Curse of Strahd campaign,
Yep.
DM'd
D&D
by
5th
yours truly.
edition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
D&D 5th edition. So not only is Barovia showing up in this book, but you've got Blutspur, Borsha, might be Borka, I don't know, Darkon, and many others. Also gives rules for creating custom domains and custom Dark Lords, so you can better suit your existing campaigns, or you can make brand new ones that are not canon, but kind of you can use the flavor. There's a lot of new background options, which if you're not familiar with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, they give you like starting equipment, starting bonuses to specific skills and stats.
Yeah.
There's also some new class options, so you can be a College of Spirits bard. So as a bard, you can communicate more easily with, like dead ghosts and whatnot. Most interestingly is an undead pact for warlocks. So you can have a lich as a patron, Strahd Van Zarevich as a patron. Really interesting choices for warlocks here.
Jen, when we're done with our Curse of Strahd campaign, can we immediately run it again using a lot of stuff out of Van Richten's Guide?
Right, that's the thing, right? Is I'm like, God, I wish this released last. Why couldn't COVID have been in 2021 instead? So we'd have the book for our campaign that we started because of COVID. COVID 2, Electric Boogaloo. I want to play more Curse of Strahd.
All right, everyone, this was a fun...
Yeah, Necrobard, exactly, Demon Dragon. But yeah, so there's a ton of new creatures and equipment that, if you're running for the Edition Curse of Strahd, you can just like take from Van Richten's Guide, plop into Curse of Strahd, go. If you want to create a follow-up campaign, which we may or may not do, there's a lot of source material in there for that. Yeah, I would love to do an in-person game again.
yeah.
So new equipment, like I could. So here's the other thing: is transparency. I could talk for hours about this because not only am I a Curse of Strahd DM, but I'm also a moderator on the Curse of Strahd subreddit and in the Curse of Strahd Discord, which is like 30,000 people.
Yeah, so you're aware of a lot of the issues that people had, like when Curse of Strahd first came out. Well, this edition of Curse of Strahd first came out in 2016. That it was a little problematic, in some respects, and they updated it in 2020. And a lot of the lore in this one acts as yet another update.
Yes. Do you want to go into more in depth of that? Because I know that you found some really cool articles and information there.
Yeah. Well, there was a character, Esmeralda, that we haven't actually run into in our campaign, so I'm not familiar with like how she was in older games. But like the Vistani are a very prolific group within Barovia, within the setting, that are based on often negative Romani stereotypes. It's like, oh, well, they're evil aligned and they're working for the Dark Lord and everything like that. And even at the time in 2016, people were like, that's a little tone deaf there, Wizards of the Coast. You wanna
Yeah.
you know what? That's fine. We're gonna do a lot of homebrew on this. We're gonna figure out our own thing as a community. Wizards came back in 2020 and softened that a fair amount, as well as some other stuff. And I think even in Van Richten's guide, we're seeing it being more like they are free spirits who are, um, who the more positive side. Like they haven't completely changed them, but it's all written in a much more positive light.
Yeah, basically it's like originally like the stat blocks that we got for them were like chaotic neutral at best. They
Hmm.
were labeled as drunkards. They all had this kind of like evil eye kind of an ability. Well, not all of them, but a
Yeah.
lot of them had this like evil eye kind of ability, which were terrible Romani stereotypes. And now they're like, listen, like, yes, some Romani are aligned with Strahd, but not all of them.
Mm,
Wouldn't make sense for all of them to be. It's just like this one. I'm going to call it a family because I don't know the technical term for it in the book. I don't remember off the top of my head. If someone in chat knows, feel free to fill that in.
yeah.
But it's like, like one grouping of the Vistani, which are a varied people that are not all human. In prior editions of Dungeons and Dragons, and maybe even in Van Richten's guide, they talk about the fact that it's like, not all Vistani are human because they're a collective traveling group of individuals that, live together in these communities. Why would they all be human? Um, so that's one thing that changed. I know you talked a little bit about Esmeralda. The other big thing with Esmeralda changing is, originally, spoilers, she lost her leg to something. I won't go into it. Um, but she viewed her loss of her leg and she hid her prosthetic and she was embarrassed by it, which didn't sit well with the community because that doesn't really fit her personality as this outgoing, adventurous woman.
Don't
So
mind me
Wizard was
taking
like,
notes for if we ever run across her.
so, Wizards was like, "You're right. That's dumb. That's wrong. We really missed the mark there." So they changed it so that she's not necessarily like proud of it, but she makes no attempts to hide it, and she's got a really cool prosthetic now.
She's unapologetic about it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So a lot more that could be talked about with Van Richten's guide. Make sure that you catch Jen over at twitch.tv/RafeWolf, and I'm sure she'd talk for hours about it.
Yeah. Also, again, I
But
mentioned reddit.com/r
yes.
slash curse of Strahd and discord.gg/curse of Strahd. Wonderful communities, and I'm not just saying that as a shill in case my man Zio, the head mod, is watching.
uh, by the way, I'm cool. Okay. So from there, um I'm let's hit a couple news topics, and I'm gonna start with a big one here. Because this one is big and heavy, capital B, capital H. And I want to handle it kind of carefully, and then I want to get by it, and I want to have some more fun on the show after this. Um, the global events that have been happening between Israel and Palestinians are worth a lot of discussion that I do not feel qualified to fully educate people on right here, right now. Among other things, I've been getting a lot of my news on current events through Twitter, and that is not unbiased. Um,
Yeah, I get
I
I
am,
get a lot of mine through social media as well, and it's like you see things and you have to think to yourself, okay, grain of salt, let's go and do some googling.
yeah.
But yeah,
But
there are people who have been studying this conflict for your and my lifetimes combined.
yes,
I,
yeah. Um, so But one thing is that various game journalism outlets have made the attempt this past weekend to educate their readership and to say, there's been a lot of civilian casualties, injuries, and such like that. Here's how you can help. So here's some of what's happening. Here's some background. Here's how you can help. Foremost among them was IGN, which posted on Saturday. The next day, that article was taken back down. And staff had no idea that it was going to be taken down. Um, and it was just it, as well as the Twitter post talking about it, was just taken down. IGN Israel made a statement saying that they were disappointed in the U.S. editorial staff that did that and how it doesn't reflect their views. Um, and on Monday, the editorial staff posted an open letter to Medium.com where IGN ownership couldn't take it down or anything. It
Right.
was signed by over 60 staff members, and it criticized the decision. And I do want to read. It was a fair amount. It talked about their perspective as like what they were trying to do, um, and how it caught them so unawares. There was absolutely zero discussion between the ownership and the editorial board. Um, so I do want to read an excerpt from there towards the end of their letter. We, the undersigned, are calling for an all hands meeting that includes IGN upper management and anyone at J2 Global or Ziff Davis, who own IGN, as well as a lot of stuff. Ziff Davis owns a lot.
Yeah.
Um, who had a hand in the decision by the end of the week, in which we would like full transparency about the reasoning and process behind the post removal. We ask that the management body responsible for the decision accept that responsibility publicly. We ask that management recognize IGN's editorial authority and autonomy with regards to what it publishes, regardless of whether that work is news, reviews, features, guides, video content, or promotion of initiative our staffs feel important, such as issue awareness or charitable support. Finally, we ask that management work with our staff to republish the piece. We are open to doing this through a process that incorporates management feedback and concerns about how its content is perceived, but we firmly believe that we must be allowed to advocate for humanitarian causes freely across all our channels. Um, One of the first issues that we talked about here on Nerd Glasses, like maybe week one, was about how Deadspin died in a week because it posted I forget the exact topic now that it posted about, but ownership at the Media Group, or whatever it's being called now, objected to that and said, stick to sports, and
Yeah.
every single one of them left. The only person that didn't leave immediately was someone who had already put in their 2 weeks notice and had 4 days left to go.
Yeah.
So they stayed behind to turn the lights out.
Yeah. It reminds me very similarly of the punishments and the commentary that came out last year and is ongoing from the Free Hong Kong movement, where
Yes.
you had players speaking up and then receiving bans or getting monetary, prizes removed and stuff like that for speaking up
Mm-hmm.
against these, humanitarian injustices. Some of which were very, it's one thing for an American company, and Americans over here to talk about something in Israel and Palestine. It's another thing for, Chinese players, for players from Hong Kong, players from that region to speak out about it.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but it's a
it's
very similar concept where the company was like, "Oh, we're gonna lose money," and they're like, "Yeah, we don't really care. We're doing
mhm.
what's right."
Yeah. And so when players like China has such an outsized influence in media right now. And so talking about what was going on in Hong Kong was a direct criticism of them. And so, a lot of stuff was cracked down on through how much, Chinese companies own and everything like that.
Yeah, we'll get
And
to that later.
yeah, and it's something that makes it's, it is tough to criticize Israel because of the inevitability of people saying, "Oh, well, that just makes you anti-Semitic."
Yeah,
Um, and I certainly, again, I don't want to go too much into detail on my personal thoughts. Ask me later. Ask me when I'm not on Insane Games TV and representing this channel. I'm happy to
yeah,
talk about it more on my own. But
yeah,
if management doesn't do what the IGN staff says, we could be seeing a lot of talent leaving IGN and leaving for other platforms.
right,
Game Informer also took down their post. Ownership of Game Informer also took down their post. Interestingly, Kotaku did not, which is owned by the same parent company as Deadspin, which had killed them. Maybe they learned a lesson.
right.
Um, I'm not sure off the top of my head. I should have checked like Polygon and stuff and seen if there was any response there. Um, yeah, that's how you lose talent, and
Yeah,
those writers go elsewhere.
I think in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see a major shift in gaming journalism as a result of things like this, as people feel the need to use their platforms to speak out against these things that are not necessarily directly related, to what is it they were hired to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
This is about ethics in game journalism.
yes, um, yeah, and I think it's a case where a lot of these big talented writers are like, well, we're just going to start our own companies.
Yeah.
And I think what's interesting is it's kind of a trend in gaming right now anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Not just in the news media where, okay, I saw, the heads did something, politically that I disagree with, whatever, we're going to go start our own company. There's been big news recently, not even related to political information, where lots of ex-Blizzard employees are joining Chris Metzen's new company.
Yep.
Because they don't like the way that Blizzard started to work under Activision. They don't like the way that Blizzard kind of has changed over the last, 10 or 15 years. So they're going back to doing what they love, which is making games in a, to make games rather than to make money.
Yeah.
So I
And we've
think
seen
we're...
that. Yeah, we've definitely
Yeah.
covered that, whether it's to Metzen's company or like people leaving Konami. Like
Mhm.
even when Hideo Kojima left Konami and did his own thing, and now we got Death Stranding, and I think he's working with
Yeah.
Xbox. That the next thing is going to be out on that. He's doing his thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of these big companies are going to have this, this realization that you kind of have to let your people be who they are. Like, you can't just have them always representing the company, or they're going to leave them and take their talent with them, and your company's slowly going to bleed out. Like, I think the same thing's going to happen in gaming journalism. Like, it's going to happen in these big AAA companies too.
Yeah. That's enough of that. I think we got the big heavy one out of the way. Do you want to pick up the next news topic? To pick, we got a bunch. We got more topics, so you to pick one.
Sure. What did we have? I know we've got the Twitch sub prices.
Yeah.
I know we've got other game related ones. Sure, we'll start with the Twitch sub
Yeah,
prices.
I've got that one under
So-
news topics. The rest are under discussion topics.
All right. So Twitch subs are, $5 American dollary dues, no matter where
Yep.
you live.
Yep.
So there's like a
If you
currency
drop
equivalent.
$5 here at Insane Games TV, you get the exclamation point bald command. You get some emotes. And you support us at the channel. Is
Right.
is the idea.
But $5 here is, a cup of coffee is, maybe a really big cup of coffee kind of a thing. Maybe 2 cups of coffee. $5 American in other countries is like a whole meal.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is they're localizing the prices for Twitch subscriptions. So it's the spending equivalent of that $5 in the country of origin for your payment method.
Yep.
So first up is Mexico and Turkey. They're getting their sub prices adjusted. And I know that there are a lot of content creators that get freaked out by this because, oh my gosh, I'm currently, I've got 10 subs at $5. Well, that's going to drop down. It's okay. Twitch is doing something awesome. They're doing like a year-long compensation over the course of the next year. So you're not going to immediately lose that sub payout. So even if tomorrow someone swaps to the Mexico currency and, the sub drops from $5 US to $3 US, they'll keep paying you that $2 for, I think, the first 4 months, something like that. And then they'll drop it down to like 75% of that, 50%, 25%. And then after a year, it's just hopefully you've gotten new subs to make up for that.
Because that's the intent, is that by lowering the price, that more people will subscribe, and so the plan is for it to at least break even. I think they're doing their research for it to break even, if not actually increase the amount of people subscribing, so that in the long run, affiliates and partners are going to see more subs and more money out of those subs. Is the plan?
Because it's one of those things where it's like, if I've got $10 right now, I can subscribe to 2 people, and I'm like, I'm not actually subscribed to anybody because I feel like I'm not going to get a lot of bang for my buck out of that. But if I could subscribe to 5 or 10 people with that $10, I would definitely do it. So that's money that would, did not exist before, that now maybe Twitch is making a little bit less on whatever, percentage payouts. but there's someone who's spending money that wasn't before, that's supporting content creators, and in turn is also paying Twitch.
Yeah, and again, you use the $10 example, and that's, well, okay, maybe that's, a deluxe combo at McDonald's or something, a
Yeah,
meal,
yeah,
a meal, and for that dollar amount, that was the equivalent of, a couple of meals in another area,
yeah.
and it's like,
As
yeah,
opposed to a fast food meal that was like a fancy meal equivalent, basically.
yeah,
Um,
so
and it's
yeah, it makes sense.
it's it's interesting because Twitch is doing this. It's localizing its prices. Blizzard this year chose to do the opposite for its subscription costs. World of Warcraft is a $15 a month subscription cost, US dollars. Used to be cheaper in different countries. Blizzard jacked up the prices I think like 30 or 60% in some countries just to
Did
make
Blizzard do
everyone
it, or
paying the
did
same amount.
Activision do it?
Well, Blizzard Activision is now the same company.
Yeah.
So that it's an equalization and it's a flat, across all regions.
Mhm.
And the reasoning for this is because you had, botters and, people who were affecting in-game economy subscribing super cheap over VPN. And
Yeah.
then they didn't care if their account got banned because they were doing stuff against terms of service. They would just get, for the price of one regular sub, they could pick up 3 or 4 other ones. The
Yeah.
problem is that this affects real people.
Mhm.
You've got people who Brazil was probably one of the hardest hit areas by this price increase of 33% or 66%, where they just they've been playing for the last 15 years and now they can't afford that.
Oh God.
Um,
Sorry.
that's meals. That's no longer like an entertainment cost over the course of a month. That's now several times over their entertainment cost that they just can't afford, especially because of COVID. It was
Yeah.
probably the worst year in existence for them to make that price raise, so they got a lot of flack for it. So
And
I commend Twitch for doing I understand, Blizzard has to protect their in-game economy. I think they went about it the wrong way. I think
yeah.
Twitch is doing an excellent thing here because not only are they helping out people who are wanting to spend money, they're protecting the people who are already making the money.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see if that's like on Activision Blizzard's part, if that's an overreaction, because yes, that was being done, but
Mhm.
is it more harmful for them to do this and for innocent people that actually live in those areas to be so negatively impacted?
Yeah.
And Twitch probably did the calculus on that and was like, yeah, there's going to be some people in the US that are using VPNs or, somehow get a credit card over in Turkey somehow and use that.
Yeah.
Um, yes, there are going to be people that work around it, but they're going to be so in the minority that we can afford that difference.
Yeah, Andy Klaus points out that Twitch is playing the long game and Activision is not. And
Activision is so
it's
bad at long game stuff.
and the thing is that, Blizzard Activision now, everyone thinks that their digital services are too expensive. It costs 25, is it 20, it's either 25 or $30 to take a character that is on one realm in the US and move it to another realm that is in the US.
Hmm.
It takes an additional $20 to transfer it from Alliance to Horde or vice versa, even if it's on the same server, which is literally just changing zeros and ones.
Hmm.
And it's so expensive. And it's like, people would use the service more if it was $5 or $10 to change these zeros and ones instead of, 25, $30. And Twitch's kind of got the right idea. We're like, we're going to make up for it in bulk.
Yeah.
And Blizzard's like, we just want the fat amounts of money at once,
Yeah, which is going to get them a bit at the start, and then it's going to peter off.
Yeah, the only people who are going to be able to afford it are the people who have
Yeah, the people
these,
that are running all those,
the bot
false
accounts.
accounts
Yeah,
anyway are probably not
yeah,
going to be affected nearly as much.
right.
And it's interesting too, like for people that aren't into MMOs in the communities and not really knowing how global they can be. I'm reading Empires of Eve right now, which is kind of going through the major political upheavals in Eve Online,
Mhm.
in nullsec, and it's interesting just how many of the big alliances and stuff are Eastern European, are Russian, are the different regions. It's not just the U.S. And it's such a US centric point of view that Activision Blizzard takes there and saying, well, we need to, protect and make sure that they're playing honestly. and it
Yeah.
ends up throwing out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah. I will say that there are other reasons to have these more expensive transfer costs, which if you don't play the game, you probably don't understand. But at the start of every raid tier, you've got, like the world first raiders will spend, I want to say they spent the equivalent of like 100,000 or 200,000 IRL dollars on the game by moving to a server, buying out every single crafting material, and bringing it back to theirs so that they can make all of these in-game items that make them very powerful. So you would destroy another server's economy.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, they don't want that to be super easy for people to do at $5 a pop. But the
they
people who
still
are going
got
to
the
be
whales
doing
that are
that,
going to do it.
yeah, the people who are going to be doing that are going to be doing that anyway. And so it's kind of I understand the argument there, like they don't want everyone to be doing it, but it's like if they're going to be doing it anyway, then just. Sorry,
Meow.
he's meowing at me.
No,
If they're going to be doing it anyway, then all they're going to do is just affect the people that it's like, hey, I started on the wrong server, or like, hey, this group that I used to play with, they no longer play. I want to play with this new group of friends, but it would cost me $300 to move everyone to a new server, So I'm just not going to bother playing at all, or I'm going to be sad because I can't play with my new friends.
Yeah, exactly. So good on you, Twitch, for doing that in the right direction.
Exactly. Super stoked for Twitch here.
Okay, so we've had a couple points where we've been like, hey, we're gonna follow up on that later in the episode. I think Twitch was one of them. I'm trying to think. Discussion topics. Hey, let's talk about how St. Jude's doing real quick.
Yes.
I haven't been keeping a super close eye on that donation bar below. I know that a few people are fundraising right now. We passed our third team goal. We're at $5,116.38 right now out of our new goal of 6,000. This team has been doing amazing, and me and Dave have gushed about it a long time. So, Jen, do you want to say anything about how the season's gone for you, the people that you've brought in?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a new webcam that's fancy that I picked up because I was starting to do some streams with my webcam, because when I'm not streaming World of Warcraft, like, it's nice to have the webcam there to react. And then I set a goal to pick up a second webcam to show off the cats when they're hanging out in their cat spot, and that was met almost immediately. So I had a $500 goal, and now I'm up over $1,500, so that's insane to me.
Yeah.
Brought in a number of students from the school. I am the esports coordinator. Well, I'm one of two esports coordinators at SUNY Empire. We did not have a SUNY Empire team. We're hoping maybe next year to do it, but instead I brought all interested students and a future student over to the Damn Bugs team this year. So we've got 3 SUNY Empire students and 1 future student. Well, hopefully future student. He's applying in the fall, and I looked over his application essay, and it looks pretty good. So they're at the 4 of them are at over $500, and most of them are not even affiliate yet. So that's hugely exciting for them. I think it's great as their esports coordinator to see them growing their channels and learning this platform and getting more used to selling themselves and working in a team environment and coordinating with others. So that's great. It's also nice to to do the yearly hangout with you and Dave and Jess, and meet some new friends too. Like is it Sustaina? I can't.
Yep. Sustaina. Yep.
Sustaina. I never really interact with much outside of the Weekend Wednesday Discord. But we both play WoW, so he joined my WoW guild like last week. So that's cool. So now I have a new friend to talk about WoW with and play WoW with, and so I tuned into his stream a few times. So it's been a very good year for us.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the people that are new to streaming, and there was this moment that we were both in chat with when one of them was on, and they got a $40 donation that came in, and they were at 35 before that. And it's really cool to see a baby streamer just get so excited and bewildered when there's a donation like that. I don't mean to, like, if a $40 donation comes into mine, I still get super excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. But there's a different level when it's someone that is so new.
Yeah, I mean, like when you're used to raising, $500, a year for your stream, getting a $40 donation is like, yeah, that's on like the top end of average for what I'm used to. When you have a stream goal of $100 and you get a $40 donation, that's, it's
Yeah,
40% of
it
your
more than
your
doubles what you were
yeah,
doing.
it's a huge deal. And
Hmm.
it was Sam the Lion. She's actually streaming Never Alone right now.
Yes.
But she hasn't hit affiliate yet. So for her to get that kind of donation towards St. Jude, she was very excited.
Hmm.
And it feels great to support smaller streamers. I try to talk with them as best as I can on my stream. Like, hey, if you like this genre of game, go. Like if you like horror games, go watch Piacular. If you like really like wholesome or kid games, go watch Sam the Lion, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I just don't really get a chance to do that other times during the year.
It was interesting. I had a good weekend this past weekend with my Dark Souls stream and had a raid of 80 people come in. Um, and like I'm like trying to interact with everyone, and I'm absolutely flabbergasted and absolutely messing up everything in the game. Fortunately, I wasn't in an area where I could actually die. Otherwise, I would have been doing so many more physical therapy exercises. But like during that, and I mean, they're all in chat with me. They're like, "Oh my gosh, we picked the right person to raid," because I went and I like checked their video beforehand, and they were trying to choose between me and someone else. Pick the right one. Oh, this is so wholesome. You're so nice, and like even I've been doing it a while, so I'm still able to like put forth that enthusiasm when I'm on. But again, there was a certain genuine uh, magic to it with Sam getting that $40 donation.
Yeah,
Again, our team is over 5,000, and I'm like, what do we set the goal at next? And we're gonna
yeah,
try to stretch for 6,000 with more than a week left to go.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was originally like, oh, $500 it's what I raised last year for my COVID fundraiser. I didn't expect to get $500 this year because I was like, it's not as personal as it was last year for so many people. But I hit it and I was like, okay, that's great. I'll set the next goal up for I think 750. And then I met that goal. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let me set my next goal for, I had a goal at 1,000, 1,250, and 1,500, and I just blew past them.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've got like the mega stretch goal at 2,500, which I do not expect to come even close to. But it's really cool to think, I started this 3 years ago with my initial goal of $250. Maybe no, it was $150 was like my first goal. I want to say maybe it was
Yeah.
250. And I was just like, that first year I made, yeah, it was 150 was my first goal, and then I made 300. Last year I set the goal at 300 and I got to 500. This year I set the goal to 500. Now I'm at 1,500.
Yeah.
Um, and it just feels amazing to have this growing community every year that's just so generous with their time and money, and that hey, it feels really good that they want to watch me do these things. Um,
If you want to make a contribution to the team and to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, I have put the team link into chat there. I ask that if you're interested in donating, open up the list of team members. Go down towards the bottom. Look at someone towards the bottom that has raised, $60 out of 100. That has raised
mhm.
$25 out of their 150 goal. Um, and donate through them because we want to show them support as well. Yeah, we've got some superstars on the team this year, but we've got people that are only able to stream a couple times. And if you're looking at wanting to contribute, then send it through there. And if I see that we go up over 51-16 and 30 and 38, I'm gonna hit the button.
Yeah, I
So
mean, if you were looking for someone to throw $5 at, don't throw $5 at the team. Don't throw $5 to me and Boater. Go to Brunerd, go to Arilla, go
go to
to is
Akai.
it
Yep,
Akai?
Akai.
They haven't hit their $100 goal yet,
Yeah.
which like I think $100 gets you a T-shirt.
Yeah,
Um, and
we
like
we
that's
we
what we're looking for is
mentioned.
like we want everyone to get something out of
Yeah,
this, just because it's such a cool idea that everyone on the team hit their starting goal.
yeah. We mentioned 82 cents out of every dollar donated goes towards St. Jude. 11 more of those cents goes towards fundraising, so that we can keep doing things like this, and that goes towards things like T-shirts for the people that have donated. We're really hoping that everyone on our team gets T-shirts. So, if you
Yeah.
can do that. Um, After my Dark Souls stream that I mentioned on Saturday, I went and I looked for the hashtag and I rated someone else, and they were playing the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. which had come out the day prior. And it's been a while since we've talked remakes and remasters here, so it's cool. Like my copy is still sealed. I picked it up on release day, but I'm saying I'm gonna do my St. Jude stuff. I'm gonna be public face. I'm gonna do everything like that. I'm gonna make an edit of our Phasmophobia game, whatever. Then when June hits, I'm offline. I'm playing Mass Effect. It's time for me and my space boyfriend. And that's it. Steph,
Yep.
I'll cook dinner for you sometimes. But like, it's cool seeing some of the stuff that they've had the chance to go back and update in the past 10, well, let's see, 14 years, 11 years, and 9 years, respectively, since the original games came out. And being able to do little things like changing the species of one character that shouldn't have been human and turning him into one of the aliens, keeping the same voice lines because they were happy with the voice delivery, but changing the filter on it, changing Tally's face,
Yeah.
making these little differences. And it's cool that like a remaster isn't just updating the graphics; it's the chance to go back and fix some things. So,
Right.
on that note, what have been some interesting notes for you in remasters past that you've seen? Like, what are some good ones that you've seen?
So kind of coming off of the St. Jude conversation is, Sam was talking about, playing games from her childhood for this, stream that's raising money for sick kids. And I was like, that's brilliant. I'll go back and I'll do that. Well, I installed Tomb Raider 1 and it's about this big on my
Ooh,
screen. And
yeah,
I was
it's
like,
rough.
oh, right. Let me figure that out. And I can go through and I can download all of these extra things to fix it. But natively on Steam it launches through DOSBox, which is just whatever. And like they were going to remaster 1, 2, and 3 and release it on Steam. Problem is they started developing it, they started working on it for years. Nobody asked Square Enix if they could do that, so that got shut down.
Yeah,
Um, and I hold out hope that they're going to do it at some point because like yes, they've got Tomb Raider 2013, but it's not the same game. It's
yep,
very much a modernization of the same story. So like I remember playing it and being like, "Oh, this is the part where I walk in and I have to, like run across a T-Rex or whatever." The problem isn't in the 2013 T-Rex this iconic sense of like you just walk in and like, "Oh man, there's just an open area and there's a T-Rex charging at you" is ruined because now there's a cutscene where it all
yeah,
happens. It's not just you're running forward and it comes out of the darkness at you. There's a huge cutscene and it's like a boss battle. And
yeah.
it's like, oh, that really kills the original feeling. Like, I just want, like, 2021 graphics on my 1999 game and, like, maybe some slightly different controls and maybe
Yeah,
a better camera, but that's
it's
very
such a
much the
balance to
extent of it.
strike because like how much can you not move away when you're doing a remaster, but then if you want to do a remake like the Final Fantasy VII remake that
Yeah,
famously just completely stripped it down and then built it back up again,
yeah.
like that's valid too. Not always what people are looking for, but that's also a
hmm
really valid way to approach it.
Um, and there was an attempt to remake the game in like 2006 or something, but that also got scrapped.
Hmm.
But an alpha was discovered this year and released. So if you wanted to play through the alpha, you can actually find that and play through it. Um, there is also the Diablo 2 remastered coming out in the fall with Diablo 2 Resurrected.
Yep.
Um, I follow a decent amount of the news on Blizzard News, as you can tell. Diablo 2 is one of those. I'm gonna drop a couple links in chat of like just the updated. Like they took the original like the weapons in the like the inventory screen and held in your hands, and they said, these are this big and they have 4 pixels in them. Let's make them really, really cool looking.
Yeah.
Let's keep the same, and they're not making them like more extravagant. They're like literally just like going through the CSI enhance,
I was
enhance.
going to say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I was about to enhance.
And it's like it literally looks like this is what the weapon was going to look like. It's like the Halo remaster
Halo Anniversary, yep.
where you play Halo Anniversary and you're like, didn't the game always look like this? And then you toggle the filter and you're like,
Ooh.
let's
Ooh.
let's put that back.
Anniversary I felt was a really good remaster.
Yeah.
I played the Age of Empires 1 remaster last year. I got to it a
hmm
couple years late. But that's one that felt a little weird because Jen, you posted actually a video to me on Facebook a day or two ago about AI interpolation of animation that might
Yes.
have been drawn at 24 frames a second and then
Yeah.
was AI enhanced up to 48 or up to 60, or something that was drawn on twos at 12 brought up to 60. And it was talking about a lot of the issues there, how it loses a lot of the snappiness and such. And I felt that way with some of the Age of Empires animations, like the sprites that might have been at 15 frame a second, all of a sudden brought up to 60. Like it felt kind of floaty and not quite right.
Right.
I loved most of that remaster, but some of it just felt very like, ooh, that's like smooth, not in a great way.
Yeah. And yeah, as I was saying, it's like, I'm really hoping that the Diablo 2 remaster is more like the Halo remaster than the 2013 remake. And so far, it's looking a lot like they're sticking with the original there.
Yeah, I remember during BlizzCon they were talking about how like underneath it it is still the exact same foundation
Hmm.
of the grid-based everything,
Yeah.
and like yeah, they have this animation playing on top of it,
Hmm.
but because things were so frame perfect at 15 frames a second or
Hmm.
at 30 frames a second, whatever it ran at, they have the emulation of that frame rate for people to still get their frame perfect hits and everything.
I think they were saying, don't quote me on this, but I want to say they were saying something like, like you can play the game in the original, and then you can just like pop the save game over to the remastered, or it's like
Wow.
they've included both kind of a thing in the same package, so
Yeah.
you can play the original, and then you're like, no, I want to see the new stuff, and then here's the filter that makes here's the
Yeah.
Instagram filter for Diablo 2.
Yeah. Here's the 2021 update filter. Here's the 20 years later filter.
Yeah.
Sorry, 22, because Diablo 2 came out in 99, right?
Yes, I want to say
Okay.
I was 99. It was December 99.
My first recollection of Diablo 2, getting the disc and realizing that it was a 4 GB install, and remembering that the computer that we had just replaced a year previous had a 2 GB hard drive.
Right.
This wouldn't have even fit on our last computer, on our
One of
compact.
One of my earlier memories from Diablo 2 is I made a friend in Diablo 2, and I was like, it was my 13th birthday around the time I was playing Diablo 2. Well, one of the times I was playing Diablo 2 was my 13th birthday. And my friend was like, hey, like, we should, like, talk, or, like, not hang up, like, hey, we should talk online or whatever, outside of the game so that we can keep in touch and talk
Uh
about
huh.
stuff. And I was like, oh, cool, I'll totally do that, but I don't really know how to, like, do that. And he's like, well, I'll make you like an AOL Instant Messenger account and give you the details, and then you can like change the password or whatever. So I installed it, and I got freaked out because it put an AOL Instant Messenger icon on the desktop, and I was like, oh
Mom and
god,
Dad
mom and
can't
dad aren't
know.
gonna like this. So I uninstalled it, and I was like, no, I guess I just can't talk with his friends because I was
Yeah.
13. I didn't know if there was anything like, an in-game friends list, there's any way to contact the person again, but I was
Yeah.
like, I literally, like, that
Oh.
account got made for me. I installed it, I logged in, I got panicked, and I uninstalled it, and I never touched it.
Oh, wow. The other note that I'll make as far as a bad remake, do you remember when I played 13, which was like the cel-shaded kind of graphic novel style
I
game?
loved that style. Yes.
Yeah, they made a remaster of that came out early this year
I
that was
remember.
garbage.
Yeah, I
It
remember.
was like
It
just,
lost all its charm.
yeah. So actually, I'm wondering if I might do like I on my list of potential games for this month as I go through and try to play. The original 13 is on there. It was like $5 on Steam. So we don't talk
And it
about the
just on the
remastered
streets. Yeah.
13. Yeah, on the list of bad remasters, or
Yeah.
I guess that was more of a remake. But either way, it's still.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Um, let's see. We have a few more minutes to go. Um, let's talk about. We mentioned at one point corporations taking the right stance. Do you
Right.
want to take
Yeah.
off from there?
I'll take the lead on this. So June is Pride Month. Pride Month's coming up. Big deal. We mentioned representation earlier with Esmeralda and her disability and how great it is for representation to happen. On the other hand, you've got corporate pride, which it doesn't matter anymore. Corporations are like, oh yeah, pride, everything great, rainbow Oreos, because gays are profitable. Uh, why support now and not 10 or 15 years ago? Because it's not as unpopular as it was back
Yeah.
then. It doesn't matter if they take a stance because, yeah, gays are profitable and they have money and they want to spend that money. Um, League of Legends, finally has like Pride emotes and Pride bonuses in their games for this month, but they only just started like winking, nudging at their LGBT characters in the last like 2 years.
Yeah.
Leona was released 10 years ago in like 2011, and everyone knew that she and Diana were lesbians. That was just like a fact. But because of Big China, Riot wouldn't do anything about it because it would upset that Big China money. See
Yeah.
also Blizzard.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to buy Pride stuff, I would caution for this. There is a caveat. When you're buying Pride merch from corporations, check out where the money's going. Riot's Pride cash
Yeah.
cows are not going to the company. Nor is it like a percentage, like 100% of net proceeds, and net proceeds are all money after manufacturing, taxes, etc., are going to the It Gets Better project. So you can feel good about spending that money on all of these little like Pride emotes and stuff. If you're buying merch, make sure it's going towards queer companies, or that all the profits are going, forwarded, and it's not just 10% of sales. So in this way, Riot's actually doing something right for once, or I guess twice, because we mentioned that they were doing something with the Valorant player earlier. So I guess that's 2 for 2 for Riot today, which is a big surprise.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
Yeah, I dropped a news link in chat of them talking about their Pride 21, merch and in-game assets and stuff like that.
Hello, Nerdy Glasses. Hello, more like rigor mortis. Welcome to the tale of the Nerd Glasses podcast, and a kitty who is not wearing glasses, but we'll keep him. Yeah, and it's when you look and see, oh, cool, some of my purchase price is going to go to charity. It might also be worth looking into the charity itself, because there's, if it's going to LGBT Alliance or LGB Alliance, like that's a really bad, like that's a really bad one. It's very transphobic.
That's like Autism Speaks, same principle.
Yep. So like it is worth, like, ultimately sometimes people just want to get a rainbow thing. And like I'm not going to shame that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if you are worried at all about being a responsible consumer and, getting from a corporate thing rather than an individual on Etsy for something, yeah, do that little bit of research, and hopefully you'll find something that, makes it a little more like, yeah, cool, I feel good about this. Not only do I have more rainbow stuff that I can put on my profile, but also I know that that $2 of that emote cost is going to go towards something good or whatever.
Yeah, it's about being a good ally, not just about being an ally.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Brew Nerd, welcome. Hey, everyone's showing up in chat when we're about to wrap up.
Yeah.
Normally 8 o'clock we end, but we had one more topic that we were thinking about hitting. More people are showing up. Let's talk about the trading card brouhaha.
Oh, right. I completely forgot about that. It's a very short thing because I'm not super involved in trading card.
Yeah, Dave ran afoul of this. I
fandom.
think he wanted to pick up some Pokemon cards at Target, and as of May 14th, Target is no longer selling Pokemon cards, MLB cards, and I think one or two other trading card type things.
Right.
Some other
Target,
outlets.
Walmart, basically all of your major outlets are not selling them in person. You can still buy them online. You cannot pick them up in person. Initially, they had it so that you could buy like one pack in person. Now it's nothing, because it's not just fit fights, but like guns have been drawn. What is this? 1998? People drawing guns over Pokemon? Like, hello, this is I feel like this is an old story come new.
This is America.
Yeah, this is America.
It's like, it sucks because it's the same thing as like the people that went to McDonald's and bought all the Pokemon trading card stuff there, so that kids, the intended audience, couldn't get it. It is like parents might impulse buy Pokemon cards for their kids in Target. They're not going to do that off of Target.com.
Right.
The only thing this is doing is keeping those cards out of the hands of casual players and making it so that collectors are the ones ordering them.
And you're going to have scalpers buying up like full boxes and then just selling them in person is the other thing that's going to happen. And you mentioned like not just the parents buying, at the store impulsively, but when Boder and I were kids, we used to go to the mall every weekend with my dad, and we would have I think it was like $2 a week allowance.
Yeah.
And we would go and we would spend our own cash money. Like, your 6-year-old or 4-year-old child does not have a debit card to buy this shit online.
Yeah.
You know, if they're gonna have cash money in hand to go and buy these things they like.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what typical allowances are these days. I'm out of touch of the childhood economy, but but yeah, like getting, a 7-year-old getting cash to go get, isn't going to be able to get Pokemon cards anymore. And I enjoy the fact that there is a lot less stigma around adults enjoying kid things. I think that is a good thing. I think that is a healthy thing for play as an adult activity, that is healthy for just keeping your mental health together and enjoying things and embracing some
I
of those
think
childhood things.
it's also going to
But,
have an effect on making things less toxic for people.
yep,
So
yeah,
it's just all around a good, but comes with
but
its
some people
downsides.
take it too far. So, I mean, the worst I've done was in my Brony days trying to get the blind bag ponies and like comparing the numbers stamped on the bag to a sheet that I had and being like,
Yeah,
yes, this one is Twilight Sparkle. I need that one.
yeah. I mean,
That's the worst I've done. I didn't pick up a kid and yeet her over to the next aisle so that I could do it. I didn't
right,
buy the whole box so that I could get her.
right. Yeah, there was definitely a few things like that myself. You know, I would go and I'd go in the off hours of, I think it was either McDonald's, or I think it was McDonald's that had, like the My Little Pony things there, and I'd go in the off hours and be like, hey, listen, I'm really looking for these ones in particular. Do you have them? I wouldn't go in the middle of a rush. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't hassle the fact that, there were, kids at whatever. I would, wait for the off hours, not even like the primo. I would just be like, hey, it's like 2 in the afternoon, let me go
Yeah.
and check out the McDonald's stock.
It's like, yo, it's 10 at night. I'm going to hang out with the stoners at the Taco Bell drive-thru and
Yeah.
see what they got.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, rigor mortis, I am the, I guess, famous Rafe Wolf. Not sure I would call myself that, but sure.
The hitherto unseen on the Nerd Glasses podcast, and today that
Yeah, the
has
oft
today that
referenced,
has
I
changed.
suppose.
So thank you for joining me on the Nerd Glasses podcast today.
Anytime. Happy to
This
finally
was
make it. I know this has come up a couple times as a possibility, and it just never worked out.
Yeah, it was great to have you on here. It was cool to talk about a few kind of different things. Like I said, it's always great, like whether it's a guest coming on with me or when I can't make it and someone else coming on with Dave, it's really cool to get the different perspectives that a guest can bring, the different interests, the different wheelhouses that people will bring with them. So,
Right. Please, this is Kahlua, by the way, if you were wondering who my little black cat friend here was.
no. And there was Amaretto that has been seen wandering a little bit in and out. So,
Yeah, she's settled. Actually, I might be able to show her. Let's see, audio and video. If I do that and then go there, there we go. This is set up for my stream. On my stream, it would be rotated 90 degrees, but there's Amaretto chilling in her little cat bed there. So
hold on. I will be sideways too. So it's fine. Oh, wait, no, I got to be sideways this way.
right.
There we go. What's up, cat? How's it going? Anyway, everyone, thank you so much. Oh, we have licking. I I was watching our friend Katie putting together a Lego build when her cat Hobbs jumped up underneath the build camera and started licking his
Oh.
butthole. I'm like,
Oh.
no, cat.
Yeah.
Anyway, that has been it for the Nerd Glasses podcast. Thank you again so much. For those of you who are new to showing up to Nerd Glasses, immediately after this, I will be on the Citadel. We will go offline here. It will be 5 minutes while I take all of this and put it over that way and switch over something on the computer. Then a 10-minute countdown. Then I will be live playing Dark Void, where I think we'll be finishing this game today. We're going to be playing Act 3. Act 2 was kind of short last week, so we'll see how that goes. Of course, if you enjoyed Nerd Glasses, make sure that you check out the rest of the lineup here at Insane Games TV. We have programming 7 days a week. Tomorrow we've got the Dream Team, Wetro Wednesday, and the Weekend Wednesday, all right here. So drop us a follow. Heavily appreciated. Yeah, I will see you perhaps on the Citadel after this. If not, you can catch me at twitch.tv/butterbug. And where can they catch you?
You can catch me at twitch.tv/RafeWolf. I do mostly World of Warcraft, especially Thursdays and Fridays are my Mythic raids. I also will do Saturdays and Sunday raids. and Monday Night Curse of Strahd with Voterbug and a few other of our friends and folks. And I do a little bit of variety here and there. A lot of Yakuza 0 these days, but also did a bit of Snake Pass, as I mentioned, probably Tomb Raider at some point. So starting to branch out a little bit there.
Snake Pass was fun, so I'll have to check that out. In the meantime, thank you all so much for watching the Nerd Glasses podcast. At the very least, we will see you next week, right here Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Thank you so much. Have a great night. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.